Welcome. Tonight is Monday, November 23rd, 2020. It is 7 o'clock p.m. This is the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter. This meeting is being conducted in person and electronically. We will call the meeting to order. Would all please join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda. Are there any changes, corrections to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Ed will make a motion to approve the agenda.
Emily will second.
Ed 1, Emily 2, all in favor of the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next, we have the minutes from our November 9th, 2020 meeting. Those minutes appear on pages 6 through 9. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor.
Whoops, go ahead, Carrie.
Sorry, I wasn't quick with the mute button, but on page 7, there is a time when Councilmember Ed Johnson is referenced as an employee of the co-op, and so just wondering if the E can be changed to K.
You were gone for a little while.
You're there all the time. It's like you could work there.
All right.
I might need a job.
All right. Everybody
So
note that change,
It's
Barb?
just a couple lines up. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. With that one change, anybody else? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of November 9th?
I'll move, Mr. Mayor, with that correction, please.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Steve 1, Carrie 2. All in favor of the minutes with the one change, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. First up tonight, we have a public hearing for an alley vacation petition, and the procedures and the process for the public hearing. We will first have a staff presentation, and in this case tonight it is Russ, I believe, right, Russ?
Yep.
Okay, and then if I guess there's two applicants, and if they want to speak or be heard, then we will hear from them, and then after that we will go to public comment. If there is any situation that where people want to speak, we usually ask that they try to remain within a 5-minute time frame, and I'm asking that council members do not interrupt if we do have any speakers at this point. We can ask questions after everybody's done here now or later when it comes up on the agenda. Anything else, Todd, that I might have missed?
No,
Everything looks
great.
good?
Thank you.
All right, we will call to order the public hearing for the alley vacation petition at 7:03 p.m. on Monday, November 23rd, 2020. Go ahead, Russ.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and members of the council, the Carlsrud household at 711 North 8th Street and the Obermiller household at 717 North 8th Street have paid the fee in a petition for the vacation of the alley lying between their properties. That would be the western half of the east-west alley within block 44 of Scarrow-Evenson subdivision. There is no drivable surface or even tire marks or tire tracks that cross the property. There is a significant grade change from 8th Street back to the north-south alley. The alleyway currently is vegetation, trees, tree stumps, etc. There is no plans to essentially construct structures within the petitioned alley vacation. It's just the two adjoining property owners would like to enhance the landscaping between them. The grade change could cause some significant drainage issues, and it's probably ill-advisable that an alleyway or a drivable surface ever be established at that location. To that effect, the Planning Commission considered the matter at their last meeting and they have recommended that you provide for the vacation as petitioned by the Carlsrud family, and the Obermiller family.
Okay. Anyone else from staff have anything to present? Okay, I see a Carlsrud name and an Obermiller name on our screen. Do either one of you want to address the council? And if you do, would you give us your name and your address, please? Mark, David, anyone? All right. If you do not want to speak, that's absolutely fine. Next up, we will address the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this matter for the vacation of the alley between these two residences? Seeing no one, we will, once again, I'll remind council that we can ask questions later when it comes up on our new business situation. We will close the public hearing for the alley vacation on Monday, November 23rd, 2020 at 7:06 p.m. Next up, we will address visitors. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any agenda item? Seeing no one. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any matter whatsoever? Seeing no one, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins in detail on page 11 and concludes with the resolution on page 27, and includes the following individuals are hereby appointed as volunteer firefighters in the St. Peter Fire Department: Tyrell Galetka, David Lehman, and Matt Hiller. There are also two individuals that are on a 6-month waiting list: Jennifer Wilking and Ryan Kupcho. The November 9th action that we took to convert the COVID-19 microloans to forgivable loans has a correction to it. The new amount is $491,652, which is a slight increase from the $487,702. Also included in the consent agenda is the regular schedule of disbursements for November 5th, 2020 through November 18th, 2020. Are there any questions, comments on the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Ed will make a motion to approve.
Emily will second.
Ed 1, Emily 2, any questions or comments at this point? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Grahams.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. Next, we have unfinished business, which we have none. We will move to new business. And the first thing up is the 2021-2022 electric fund budgets. And Pete and Sally, I would imagine?
Correct. Mayor Zeman and City Council, we're here tonight asking you to approve the 2-year budget for the electric fund for years 2021 and 2022. The electric budget memo and worksheets are found on pages 28 to 61 in our packet. As you know, the electric budget includes the following services. It provides and maintains electric services to homes and businesses, maintains the electric generation plant, maintains and installs streetlights, connects and disconnects meters, locates city service lines, maintains the appropriate electrical load on transformers, installs new services, and installs distribution lines. There are no rate increases proposed for the 2021-2022 budgets. As a reminder, the electric fund does transfer 6.5% of its revenues to the general fund. For 2021 and 2022, the amount is $734,153 is what that transfer is budgeted at. That's flat to the 2020 budget. The 2020 revenue projection for year end is at budgeted levels about at $11,989,666. The 2021 revenue is budgeted at $365,666 or $374,500 above the 2020 projected year end. $356,000 of this is due to a rebate we're getting from SIMPA. They are back at the end of 19. They also gave a refund of about $250,000. We believe that the overall revenue growth is conservative over 2020. This does not include any new service for the new Quick Trip going in the north end of town, Gustavus Lund Center remodeling, and businesses getting back to normal levels hopefully in 2021, and any new housing builds. The 2021 budgeted expenditures, including capital, are $12,134,204, of which 64% is purchase power from SIMPA, and then, or 84% of the operating expenses. We are projecting the 2020 year-end expenditures to be at $12,610,476, $105,000 above budget, mainly due to capital expenditures that were shifted from 2019 into 2020. 2019, we were without a superintendent through 8 months out of the year, so all the projects didn't get done, so we just shifted them out a year. So that's just why there's some overspending in 2020. But 19 was under budget. The 2021 capital budget is for $476,000 and is on page 43. And the 2022 capital budget is $502,975, and that is on page 43. Cash reserves will be used to fund the projects. Just an FYI, if you look at that 10-year capital budget, there's a $1.1 million placeholder for 2025 for the substation improvements and transformer replacement down behind City Hall. We're not sure when or what the extent of the project will be, but we're just putting it in there as a placeholder for right now. We know it's going to be expensive, we just don't know when. Right now it's running fine, oil levels are good, so it's just a placeholder. We won't replace it till we need to. Cash reserves, the 2020 budgeted unrestricted cash was budgeted to come in at $1,972,573. The year-end projection for right now for 2020 is $1,868,707.
107.
Or
107.
107.
Yep.
And Moody's in our 2000 rating call would like us to be at a $2 million cash reserve. So we're inching up there, we're not quite there. In 2021, we're projected to increase to $2,435,079 and to $2,435,079 at the end of 2022. So we are going to meet our goal of $2 million.
Sally, you gave the same number for 2022. The 2022 number is $2,592,314.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, that's fine. The 2021 budget expenditures without capital spending is $11,658,205, and this puts the reserve at 16% of the 2021 budget. So we're getting to where we want to be with the $2 million plus reserve, and we're asking you to approve the resolution on page 61 adopting the 2021 and 2022 electric budgets. Any questions?
We're getting some feedback from someone. I'm not sure where, but it's constantly going. So I don't know where it's coming from. So if we can watch that, that'd be great. Questions for Sally on the budget?
Or Pete?
Or Pete, sorry, do you have something to add? I missed you. You don't? Todd, do you have anything to add at this point?
No,
Sally
sir.
said it all.
Yeah, no, sir, you guys covered this and had a great discussion about this at your workshop.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Sally or Pete or Todd on this matter? Like Todd said, we discussed this in a little more detail, I guess, last week. If there is no other discussion, the resolution adopting the 2021-2022 electric fund budget appears on page 61. Is there a motion for approval?
Noel will move.
DeVos will second.
Okay, Shannon 1, Brad 2. Now any questions? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Grams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have the 2021-2022 Environmental Services Fund budget. Sally and Pete again.
Mayor Zeman and City Council, tonight we are asking you to approve the environmental services budget for 2021 and 2022. Again, it's a two-year budget cycle. The memo starts on page 62 through 65, and detailed spreadsheets and encode reports are on pages 66 through 82. Highlights of the memo are there are no rate increases proposed for residents or businesses for 2021 or 22. Expenditures are projected to be for 2021, $889,348, and for 2022, $923,792. Services that are provided by the environmental services budget are refuse and recycling collection throughout the community, the operation of the yard waste drop-off site down on Swift Street, operation of the compost site, curbside yard waste and leaf pickup, and Christmas tree pickup. We also have maintenance of the city urban forest, tree removal in boulevards, planting and replacement programs on boulevards and in parks and other public areas, emerald ash borer and urban forests. For 2021 and 2022, there's $20,000 each year for emerald ash borer in these budgets. We also do maintenance of the downtown medians and urns, and in 2020 they were gorgeous, all of them, and the downtown flower baskets. Revenue from these services are received from customers through the garbage on your garbage, recycling, and environmental services. Garbage and recycling account for about 54.8% of our operating costs for this budget, and we are contracted. There are two contracts. The first one is with LJP, and in 2020, in March of 2020, LJP did increase 1.8% or 12 cents per household, just per their contract. And then our second contract is with Minnesota Waste Processing, and that's for the tip and dumping of the garbage in Mankato. We continue to try and educate and add additional capacity, and we've added additional capacity at both recycling sites and food waste composting dumpsters for residential use. We are still seeing increase in refuse rates throughout St. Peter. 2020 is an odd year right now. We have, people are home, people are cooking at home, people have a lot of garbage this year. And as you all remember, we did go to every other week recycling last year, about a year ago. Started doing that too. Environmental services, non-garbage and recycling costs are mainly wages, benefits, and that is recorded as people work in those areas. Right now we have a full-time forester that is assigned to that budget every year, but then as parks and streets and some of the other ones have some free time, they will help supplement and haul. There's a lot of hauling that goes from that site down by Swift Street out to the site out in Kasota. As I said, emerald ash borer management plan, there's $20,000 a year for 21 and 22. The 2021 capital needs are $26,000, and that's on page 70 of the budget. And that's mainly some miscellaneous engineering, an upgrade to the GIS computer system for $6,500, some more maintenance down at the Swift Street off-site improvements of $5,000, and then a skid mount tree spade for $12,000. That's the biggest expenditure in there. And the 2022 capital is $42,500, of which the biggest part of that is a replacement of a truck, of a 2004 truck. And that's $35,000 of the $42,000. And again, we have some miscellaneous improvements down at that Swift Street drop-off site. As usual, the budget does not allow for large purchases without the city council approval, so that Pete will bring forward when he's buying the trucks and some of the bigger purchases and to you guys. Again, there are no increases for 21 and 22 to the customers. And the refuse fund has no debt obligations. We pay cash for capital, so there is no debt in that one. Current projected fund balance at the end of 2020 is negative $16,670 versus a budget of $42,427. Again, this is due to some wages and benefits from streets and parks and the water fund, so the offset of that is in the general fund and the water fund. The 2021 fund balance is projected to be $95,493, driven by lower capital spending than in 2020. 2020 we had 70. It's lower than 2020 by $74,000 in capital spending. Based on the cash flow and risks, the reserve target in this area should be about $300,000, but usually this fund, as you can see, does not have any real large purchases. So I think we're doing okay starting to build that reserve, coming up to $95,000 at the end of 22, and we'll keep building that. We keep reviewing rates. Environmental services, we are seeing some with recycling and some other things. We do see some pressure with rate increases, but we'll keep you posted on what that's going for each year. We do have contracts out to 2023, so we'll keep helping with you, help keep you updated. I'll come back with how we're doing against 2021 and how 2022 looks at the end of 2021. But just to give you a feel for it, a $1 increase on refuse generates about $36,000 a year. So it isn't huge. We have about 3,000 people paying that because businesses don't pay for the refuse and garbage. So we keep pushing for recycling, and again, working with the county to try and get more capacity at those sites for people to use too, as Kirby's get full. So we are recommending you to approve the resolution on pay of the 2021-2022 budgets.
Okay. Pete, did you have anything to add?
The only thing I might touch on is that we're still going to work to control the cost on the Swift Street site by controlling a little bit of the entry there. We do have a wide variety of people that do access that site for recycling purposes, and we want to make sure that that's operated very efficiently.
Okay. Todd, anything to? All right. Any questions for Sally or Pete? We discussed this last week at our workshop, so if nobody has any questions now, the resolution adopting the 2021-2022 Environmental Services Fund budgets appears on page 83. Is there a motion for approval?
So move, Mr. Krabs, or Mr. Mayor.
Emily will
Power
second.
struggle here.
Steve, welcome.
Anytime.
Steve 1, Emily 2. Any questions now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Grams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Sally. Pete. Next up, we have the alley vacation petition that we had the public hearing on. And Russ, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you have anything new to add for this?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I should have noted that notice of the hearing had been provided to the private utilities And the correspondence that I did receive from two of them indicated that they had no concerns or opposition to the requested vacation. I should also note that all the other properties on the block should have sufficient access from the north-south alley to serve any type of rear yard driveways that they would have at this time or would intend to establish in the future.
Okay. Questions for Pete, or for Russ? If there are no questions, the resolution approving the vacation of all of the, and part of the east-west alley lying westerly of north-south alley within block 44 Scarrow and Evenson's subdivision appears on page 89. Is there a motion for approval?
Ed will make a
Noel will
motion.
move.
Ed will second.
Okay, we got Shannon 1, Ed 2. Any questions now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Grams.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Russ. Next up, we have the 2021 polling place designations. Todd?
Mayor and members, we bring this to you to make sure that we're in compliance with the law, and as you know, over the last couple of years, we've had a couple of different location modifications due to work that was going on at the Armory. So this is maybe a little bit of a belt and suspenders approach in making sure that we cover this appropriately under state statute. As Ms. Luker, Barbara, administers the elections for us, she also takes care of that, and we contract with the school district to do that. And so the resolution in your packet sets those polling places on the north end as being the National Guard Armory, and of course on the south end, the community center. I'd view this more as a technical action, more so than a policy action on any part, but we want to make sure that we're covering the bases appropriately, as elections are really important within our community. And so there's information included on page 90, and the resolution is on page 91. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions? If not, the resolution designating city and combined school district 508 polling places for 2021 appears on page 91. Is there a motion for approval?
Emily will so move.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Emily 1, Carrie 2. Any questions now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Grams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have Russ again for Growth Holdings Assignment of Development, the TIF agreements for
Yeah.
property at the Dunkin' Donut property, let's put it that way. Go ahead.
Mayor Zeman, members of the City Council, in 2017, the city entered into a development agreement and tax increment financing agreement with Growth Holdings for the development of the quarter block at 1123 South Minnesota Avenue. As the mayor noted, this is the Dunkin' Donuts, AT&T, I believe, and CCF Bank strip mall. The development was substantially completed in 2018, and in 2019, we executed a tax increment financing note to the tune of $65,000 after the developer provided proof of paid invoices for eligible tax increment financing expenses. The developer has lived up to every one of the obligations imposed on them by the development agreement and tax increment financing agreement. The only remaining obligation of the developer is the perpetual maintenance and snow removal of the paved alleys abutting the site. As you won't recall, you were not on the council at the time, most of you, but at the time that the development was approved, the remaining alleys were vacated within that block by the neighbors. That was actually an activity, an action that had to be undertaken by the property owners. At this point, Mr. Mayor, Growth Holdings has requested the assignment of the development agreement and tax increment financing note to an entity known as 12MN Properties LLC. It's not uncommon for a developer to build and then lease a property and then provide it for sale, because the lease is what actually is the value along with the physical asset. So 12MN Properties, the registered agent of that is David Schoof from Coldwell Banker Fisher Commercial Realty. Dave is a member of a number of LLCs that own property within St. Peter. The other members of 12MN Properties LLC would be Scott Fee and his wife Ann Rosenquist Fee. Ann should be well known to many of you as the director of the St. Peter Art Center. Her husband Scott is on the faculty of the construction management department of Minnesota State University Mankato. And then Scott is also a real estate agent that's affiliated with Coldwell Banker Fisher Commercial Group. All three of those individuals have been involved with previous LLCs that have done business successfully with the city of St. Peter without issue. And it would be my recommendation, since there really isn't a board or a group to bring this to, but it would be my recommendation that you provide approval of the assignment as requested by Growth Holdings and 12MN Properties LLC. Mr. Mayor, I'd answer any questions you or members might have.
Questions for Russ? Steve?
Russ, have you heard any complaints from any of the neighbors, either to the north or to the east, regarding traffic or noise or anything?
The first year, Councilman Grams, there had been concerns that people didn't really recognize or appreciate that the other portions of the alley were vacated. And by not undertaking snow removal, I think that helped deliver a message. But that first year, it was somewhat comical, as you'd see people trying to drive through an unplowed alley and getting stuck, and then using their ice scrapers trying to get loose. But I think after a couple of years, Councilman, the messages have been delivered. And then some of the neighbors then that now own those portions of the alleys have left appurtenances or other encumbrances that limit people from driving up and down them.
Do you know, by chance, did Brad DeVos be one of those that got stuck and tried to shovel his vehicle out with an ice scraper?
I wouldn't touch that one.
The neighbor, I know one of the neighbors that, and I think it's been, well, I know it's been taken care of, like you say, Russ, was on the northern part of the north-south alley, and they were the ones I know that talked to me when this initially started, and then everything was vacated, and I told them to put up a barricade, since they have the alley, they can block it off, so, since it was vacated. So anyway, I have a question for you. These three individuals, were they any part of the Growth Holdings LLC?
No, I'm not sure, Mayor, but I don't believe so. I believe that Growth Holdings was Kyle Smith from Tailwind Group, and a group that he had assembled. I don't know if these may have been accessory members of that group, okay, but I know that the registered agent at the time had been Kyle Smith from Tailwind.
Okay. I was just curious because sometimes people move these things around for other purposes, and just was kind of wondering if that was the case. Any other questions? Not. The resolution consenting to the assignment of a development agreement and tax increment financing note from Growth Holdings LLC to 12MN Properties LLC appears on page 97 and 98. Is there a motion for approval?
Ed will make a motion to approve.
Okay, Shannon 1, Ed 2. Any questions, more questions at this time? Brad?
I would just like to answer Mr. Grams. I wouldn't drive through a snowy alley unless he was there to help push the car out, so.
Steve, we're going to call you Traction from now on. We'll just lay you underneath the tires, okay? If there are no other questions, would you call the roll, please, Barb?
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Grams.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have the 2021 equipment certificate purchases. And Pete, it looks like your Christmas list here.
It is, and so it begins. Mayor Zeman and City Council, we are looking to purchase several pieces of equipment tonight with the idea that it takes a little while to order these with a lag time to have them delivered after the 1st of January. These pieces of equipment that we're going to talk about here tonight are all replacement units within our existing fleet. The first one is a 2021 Bobcat 5600 tool cat with an 84-inch broom on the front. That dollar amount is $33,088.66. That would include the dollar value of trade-in for a 2010 Bobcat tool cat with good trade-in value. As you guys can see, it's roughly half of what a brand new unit would cost. So we've driven the existing unit. It still has good value. When we turn them over, a lot of times what we've done in the past is worked with the hospital to replace some of their equipment. Their unit was still in good shape, so this unit's going to be traded in. In the future, we will also be discussing with them whether they have additional needs, and we'll keep that in mind as we proceed down the line. This unit will be financed, again, using equipment certificate purchases. So once these are delivered and we take them into our possession after the 1st of January, Sally will be working with our financing to get the funding for those units. And I'm available for any questions. There is a resolution on page 101. If there's questions, I can try to answer those for you.
All right, questions for Pete? If not, the resolution authorizing 2021 equipment certificate purchase for a 2021 Bobcat with a broom attachment appears on page 101. Is there a motion for approval?
Emily will move.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Emily 1, Carrie 2. Any questions now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Grams.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye. Resolution is approved. Next up, we have another equipment certificate purchase resolution for a snogo snowblower. Pete?
Mayor Zeman and City Council, as you can see here, we're trying to purchase a used snogo snowblower. The unit that we're looking at is a 2008 unit that is going to come from the city of Pipestone, used at their airport. We have been looking for a couple of years to try to find a unit to serve as our primary snowblowing unit that we use downtown for major snow removal events, and also up in the western bluffs of St. Peter, Sunrise Drive, Broadway Avenue, County Road 20 at some points, and helping the county out as well. I had mistakenly put in our other primary unit as the trade-in, which my foreman quickly caught, and I believe if you look on the resolution under line item 3, we have a corrected unit in there. It's the spare snow blower, not the additional snogo. So we're getting rid of the single stage snow blower instead of the 2-stage snow blower. As you guys can see, it has 350 hours on the unit. It's valued at about $80,000. We don't have a lot to compare to as far as used prices. It's kind of a negotiated effort when we find a piece of equipment like this because they are very rare. If you remember a couple of years ago, we were looking at some units that came off the Minneapolis airport that were roughly in the 80 to 100,000 unit or $1,000 units. And so we feel really good about this unit. Staff has inspected the unit and is recommending approval. There is a corrected resolution on replacement page 104. And I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Questions for Pete? Pete, I don't have a question. The thing that I'd learned the most of out of this is that Pipestone has an airport?
Yeah,
They do, wow, okay.
yeah.
In case I ever fly in there. The resolution authorizing the 2021 equipment certificate purchase for the 2008 Snogo MP snowblower appears on page 104 with the change to to number 3 in the last second to last paragraph, I guess it would be, to change to a 1986 Fair Snowblower 607A. Are there any questions? More questions at this time? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Ed will make a motion to approve.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Add 1, carry 2. Now any more questions? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Grams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have a resolution authorizing the 2021 equipment certificate purchase for a 2021 John Deere terrain cut mower with broom. Pete?
As you can see from the memo here, Mayor Zeman and City Council, the existing Toro unit here is seen its better days and is in need of replacement. We're still using the existing unit, but it has come under better days. What we're asking tonight is approve the purchase of a brand new mower and allow us to trade in the existing mower. The new mower is just roughly under $50,000. The trade-in was about $8,000, bringing the total replacement cost to about $42,000. As you guys know, we've changed our operations just a little bit within our maintenance division here. Looking at some of the equipment we do, this unit here will be used a lot on our trail system within our parks for winter maintenance with that broom. Very, very good use of that facility. And then again, the mower deck allows for flexibility and ease of operation. What we're asking tonight is that the resolution on page 107 be approved. And again, the funding would come from the equipment certificate for this purchase.
Okay. Questions for Pete? Brad?
Pete, if approved, would we be able to designate my driveway as part of the trail system?
That'll take council action.
Oh, okay, just thought I'd check.
Anyone else? The resolution authorizing 2021 equipment certificate purchase for a 2021 John Deere terrain cut mower with attachments appears on page 107. Is there a motion for approval?
Noel will move.
DeVos will second.
Shannon 1, Brad 2. Any questions? Steve?
Pete, I just got a question. What color is it?
It's John Deere green.
Okay, thank you.
Where are we going? Here we go. All right. There are no other questions. Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Grams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, and I just want to note John Deere does have also some yellow, orangish color equipment too, Steve. So
Yep.
next up, we have the EPA water system report development, and Pete is now I see it's Mr. Domers instead of Mr. Knutson with the Jeff I see. So go ahead, Pete.
Mayor Zeman and City Council, the EPA, through the America's Water Infrastructure Act of 2018, has required communities to complete a couple of different reports for them. The first is a risk assessments and emergency response plan. It's the second. Along the line here, there are two independent reports with two independent timelines to accomplish this. We have previously submitted an emergency response plan with the EPA, and it's time that we upgrade those. They do have quite a bit of requirements and evaluation that needs to be completed by a licensed engineer, along with input from city staff on how to protect our public water supply. Our staff did solicit and advertise on our city website, and as you guys can see on page 109, we had 3 bids that were right around $17,000. And we would be very happy with any of those 3 firms completing this study for the city of St. Peter. We also had 3 that were put in there from a variety of different sources because we do advertise on the internet and ask others to consider that. The reason we're selecting Bolton and Mink, as you guys can see, they're about $300 higher, is the potential for them to actually be lower than the lowest submitted bid because of the time of travel and requirements for that. We do expect them to honor their price, of course, but nonetheless, this is a requirement where Bolton and Mink is familiar with our water system, and we feel that we'll get a very outstanding evaluation based on their expertise of our water system. There's a resolution for you to approve. I gotta find the right page here.
114.
114, thank you. And I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Questions for Mr. Moulton? Brad?
So Pete, do you think the selection of Bolton and Mink might also save you on staff time since you have a familiarity with them over the other ones?
Yes, definitely. You know, one of the things we thought about the $300 difference in the different prices. We'll spend that in staff time for sure, just working with the other firms. And like I mentioned, we know the chief principal operators are engineers in both of those firms that solicited us. They are in the water business co-workers that we work with at the AWWA in a variety of different aspects. And so the real savings here is having Bolton and Mink know what we've got going and taking less of our time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Shannon?
I was sort of struck when I saw the proposal amounts lined up. The high ones were really, really high. Can you say any more about that?
You know, we haven't worked with any of those 3 firms, but they do have staff that specialize and have a boilerplate that they go out and solicit with each of the communities. So I would imagine there's places where they do get some work because maybe there's a remote community that needs help. But it's not uncommon to see different stuff like that. It depends on the hours that they're going to have to spend, and if they have to fly, like the Denver company, you know, they have to fly out here and spend time out here and house here. It just gets really expensive quickly.
Thanks.
Yep.
Anyone else? Some of these firms, the 3 firms, may have relationships with some other communities already too, and just like we do with Bolton and Mink, and maybe they are willing to pay a little bit more. There are no other questions. The resolution on page 114, accepting the proposal from Bolton and Mink to complete Environmental Protection Agency Water Infrastructure 8 engineering report. As I said on page 114, is there a motion for approval?
Emily, so.
Steve Graham, second, Mr. Mayor.
Was it Emily?
Yep.
Emily 1, Steve 2. Any other questions now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Grams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat. Aye. Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you.
What's that?
He just said thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Didn't hear that. Next, we have a tree worker license application. Todd?
Mayor, members, the information is included on page 115 for Tyler Baca doing business as Woodfellows LLC, The license would run from November 24th to April 30th of 2021. There's nothing in the background check that would prohibit them from receiving a license of this type. For those of you keeping score, I believe this is the 16th one of the year.
Okay. Questions? The resolution approving tree worker license application appears on page 116. Is there a motion for approval?
Steve got his hand up.
I think Steve,
We can ask, first I'll ask for to move the resolution, please.
Ed will move the resolution.
Ed 1, Shannon 2. Steve, you got a question?
Relative to tree workers and being licensed by the city, what is the city's policy regarding unlicensed tree workers doing work in the city, and what happens? Is there a monitoring system? Does somebody go out and check, or how does that work?
So, yes, it is and I'd defer to the city attorney, and he might not remember off the top of his mind either, but I believe it's a petty misdemeanor or a misdemeanor. And so typically what happens is that we will get a call or we will notice someone, we being, whether it's the police department or public works or someone from administration, will notice someone out there who's not on the list. Oftentimes it's a little bit haphazard, just happenstance that we bump into someone. But typically then they are asked to leave the community before we write them a ticket. And 9 times out of 10, they comply happily, and then sometimes come back and apply for a license to do the work that they'd contracted to do with the homeowner.
And then, what happens if somebody, for instance, gets hurt, and they find out at that point that they're not licensed? What is the recourse at that point?
Well, I think in most instances, Councilmember Grams, that gets to be a civil issue, not anything related to the city. One of the things that licensing provides for residents who look for licensed contractors is that we ensure that they have the appropriate insurance and bonding, and that's not insignificant sometimes as it relates to this type of work. And so we know who people are, we have good data and information, and that can be helpful to some property owners if there is a problem in the future.
One final question, Mr. Mayor. I know that, we always have monitored the licensed tree trimmers. Do we license any other particular individual, landscapers, electricians, that type of thing?
So as an example, with electricians, we do not license electricians because they're licensed through the state of Minnesota as our contractors, like construction, carpentry, masonry, etc. So we do not license them, but there are other things that we do license from time to time, and usually it relates to products and services. A great example of that might be a bar is licensed through the city of St. Peter, to provide another example.
So are landscapers required to have a state license?
If it depends on what they do. So if they are just purely doing landscaping and not trimming, not cutting down, not doing anything with the removal of trees, by ordinance, by the definition within the ordinance, they are not required to have a tree worker's license.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Bruflat. Aye. Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Grams.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. That concludes our new business. Next up, we have reports. The first thing that I would like to do is kind of issue an apology to Mr. Moulton. Last Monday, we heard that he had been elected to the SIMPA board, and I kind of made light of it, joking with him, and it's a big deal. And I've been to meetings, SIMPA and whatever else with Pete, and I know how well he is respected. So Pete, I want to just say congratulations on that, and I know you always represent the city of St. Peter very, very well, because I see the respect that you are given when you are at these meetings. So if I made light of it too much for you, I know you didn't say anything, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. The only other thing I have is that everybody have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And Todd, we'll turn it over to you.
Mr. Mayor, for the COVID report tonight, I'll really cover some of the closings that are city-related, just to provide clarification or additional information to folks that don't know. So let me start with the library and community center, because lots of your community members stop there on a regular basis. Both of those are closed now until further notice, but we do want to mention that the library has other activities that are going on and opportunities, as does the community center and the rec department. Specifically in the library, there are opportunities for reserving materials, putting them on hold, and then picking them up through the window, just like we did early on in COVID. So that's a really nice service available to people. And they can use that on the internet or certainly by calling the library. They also have opportunities this time around for appointments to the library. So if you, Mr. Mayor, you and your wife could come down and utilize the library for a few minutes and pick things out. We'll try and stick with family units and households together. And so that's an opportunity as well, trying to make sure that we can control the numbers of people in there, but provide access in what we hope is a reasonable way, but certainly a very safe way for folks. And there are lots of activities going on with the rec department over this time, and a number of things that go on that are online. So check those out on our website and other places. And so we're really excited about that. Public Works Administration Building is also closed to the public. We're certainly open for business, but closed to the public. And so if you want to make a phone call or you have a meeting, we do them virtually, just like this meeting and other ways. So we want to encourage people to certainly utilize the phone or email, and we're happy to work with folks. City Hall is in a very similar situation. While we are open and working, we are closed to the public, but there are opportunities for folks to get information related to their utility bill. There are a number of payment methods, including paying online. Certainly we have Dropbox down at City Hall. And if you have any questions about how to do that, please feel free to give the finance department a call. They'll be happy to help you figure it out. And meetings with other folks, whether it's building officials or city administrator or anyone else, we're happy to accommodate you by phone or by virtual meeting. And we make those things go. And it's actually worked out pretty well in the past, so we think that it will in the future. We don't have an end for when this will stop. So please continue to watch our Facebook page, our SPPA, cable television, council meetings such as this, and the hot sheet and our website. We provide that information, so watch for that. And we have phone numbers up on the doors in multiple languages, so if people come to the door and they don't know it, they can give the department a call and we can help them out on the phone or meet them outside if it's not 40 below. We'd be happy to do that. So that's what I have for those closings, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
The next one that I have is reporting on closed sessions. As all of you may know, under the law, when we have a closed session, we're obligated at the next regular meeting to make a report on those. And so as you may recall, we've had a couple of different property discussions related to folks that have expressed interest in purchasing property from the city of St. Peter. None of those have been concluded yet, and the addresses were included previously on your past agendas where those have been discussed. And so certainly anytime there is activity related to that or action on the part of the city council, it has to be done in an open meeting, but we're required to provide a report. And my report on both of those properties currently is, frankly, there's nothing new to report. The discussions are going on. And so when that comes to a fruition, we'll make sure that the council's aware of it. And if action is necessary, that'll be made in a public meeting. The next one that I have, and if you have very specific questions, Pete and Jeffrey are still on the virtual meeting if you have specific questions, but wanted to give the council an update on the bowling alley. And as far as we know, the structure of the building and footings and foundations are likely to be gone before Thanksgiving. So Pete, Jeffrey, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Todd. We're hoping that the site is pretty much done by the end of the day on Wednesday. With that, staff will be working with our milling company to come back in and take the parking lot and gravel off of there. Then we'll start hauling in some fill to level the lot off and maintain the drainage that was there prior to the demolition. So should have a pretty bare site with some hydro seed on it. hopefully within 10 days.
All right.
Mayor and members, if you have any questions, please let us know. We'll be happy to visit. Or if you have any neighbors that contact you, please send them to Pete at Public Works, and we'll be happy to try and answer the questions as best as we can.
Okay.
The next one that we have is the ADA grant program. We want to mention that this is the second year of that program that is using interest from revolving loan funds with the EDA, has a grant for businesses in the downtown to improve handicap accessibility under the ADA rules, or maybe it's not exactly perfectly ADA rules, but meets that handicap-friendly requirement that we're really trying to endorse and incent businesses and building owners to participate in. Last year, you may recall, we had 3 businesses that participated. This upcoming year, we anticipate we have about $30,000, give or take, that can go for grants. And the application deadline, based on the approval of the city council and putting this program in place, is February 26th. We had a meeting last week, and we had 4 or 5 interested parties show up. And so we hope that they all do something to make their building more handicap accessible, and there are grant dollars available for them to do that. So again, that's ongoing with the end of applications being February 26th. And then the only other one that I have, I'm going to ask Pete to fill us in, is that we've had a little bit of off and on weather, but we're still in the process of doing some leaf collection. So Pete, could you talk about that just a little bit? So leaves out in the boulevard.
Yeah, we're basically finished up now. We've gone back and hit most of the spots where cars were parked in front of the leaves. But we're basically going to be done on Wednesday with our collection. We're going to be doing some sweeping and just some gutter cleanup Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we'll be done. And we appreciate everybody's cooperation on moving vehicles and allowing us to get the work done. The forestry and parks crew has done an outstanding job of cleaning up the boulevards. And your street crew has done a great job of picking up those curb lines and picking up branches and trees that have fallen in that area there. So we're real happy with how the fall came about for us. We weren't thinking it was going to be so much fun when we had 2 snow events through that, but in between all of that, we did a nice job with the community.
Mayor, members, again, if you have any questions, or if folks that might be watching this have any questions, please feel free to give Public Works a call, and we'll be happy to explain to them what we're doing and what happens. And all those leaves get turned into compost, and one of the great things about this is, with the leaves and the curbs and gutters, is trying to minimize the phosphorus impact on our environment and some of our MS4 requirements. So that's one of the reasons that we continue to move forward with this. And for a lot of folks, this is one of the only ways they get those leaves out of there. And so we're happy to work with folks to make that happen. So thanks, Pete. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for reports, but I do have an action item request for an executive session.
Okay, before we ask for that, anybody have questions for Todd on all the subject he covered, or does anybody have a question about anything else or something they want to add? Brad?
Going back to the bowling alley, I just want to thank Pete and company for getting that lined up to get going so quickly after the judge's sign off. Just driving by, because I drive by it frequently, it's just refreshing the last few days just to see the work going on there, see those walls coming down, because that's been a real, well, not just eyesore, but it just looks dangerous with all the fences around there. So just want to commend you for getting on that so quickly. So.
Yep, thank you. Your city engineer had a very nice specification, and your contractor was very cooperative and understanding on the timeline to get this done. And so both of those guys need credit there too.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Jeff.
Anyone else? Any other questions or comments?
I'd be remiss on that one if we didn't say a little kudos to the city attorney who got things moving with the court. So we don't want to give him too much credit. He's sitting next to me, but
we don't
he's
want to do
super
that.
helpful in this too.
We don't want to do that. Kudos, Jim. Todd, when you were talking about, and maybe I missed it, last week or whenever it was, we talked about maybe the walking track being open. Is that open?
That was actually before the governor's order, so no,
Okay.
it is not. So at the community center, Mr. Mayor, the building is closed
Gotcha.
down. But people that have business to conduct here with some of the entities that are here, or
Right.
the daycares, there still is opportunity for them to contact them and meet at the door, et cetera.
Okay, it was a question that somebody addressed me with, and I said
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure how this all was affected now.
Yep.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Any other questions? All right, if nobody has anything else, the last thing on our regular business is a resolution calling for a closed session to discuss the purchase or sale of real estate or personal property, and in this case, it is property that the city owns at 101 North Front Street. That resolution appears on page 117. Is there a motion for approval?
Ed will make a
Noel will
motion.
move.
Ed will second.
Shannon, 1, Ed, 2. Before we ask for the roll to be taken on this, what we're going to do is we will come back into our regular session, and the only thing that we're going to be talking about or doing in our open session is adjourning. So there is no other business that'll be undertaken. So when we get out of here, or we're done with this, we'll just move right into that. If there are other comments or questions, call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Grams,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. With that, we will recess to an open session, or closed session, excuse me. And once again, just to come back into open session, just to adjourn. So whoever isn't needed, thank you for your time tonight.